In 1961, blacks and whites known as the Freedom Riders challenged segregation laws in the Deep South. Their mission was simple. In a nonviolent show of unity, they would ride commercial buses together, violating segregation laws. The fallout and history documented. We discussed with Freedom Riders filmmaker Stanley Nelson on Newsmakers.
I wish to apply for acceptance as a participant in course Freedom Ride, 1961.
To travel via bus from Washington, D.C. to New Orleans, Louisiana, and to test and challenge segregated
facilities en route. I understand that I should be participating in a nonviolent protest
against racial discrimination, that arrest or personal injury to me might result.
The Freedom Rides of 1961 were a simple but daring plan. The Congress of Racial Equality came up with the idea to put blacks and whites in small groups on commercial buses, and they would deliberately violate the segregation laws of the Deep South.
We were to go through various parts of the South, gradually going deeper and deeper. 6 of us on the Trailways bus and 6 of us on the Greyhound bus, and see whether places were segregated, whether people were being served when they went to get something to eat or buy a ticket or use the restrooms.
One of the major thrusts of the Freedom Ride was to get the movement into the Deep South. Most of the action up to this time had been in the Upper South or in the North. And one of the ideas here was to go into the deepest South. We were hoping that this would start a national movement.
And so begins Freedom Riders. Our guest is award-winning filmmaker Stanley Nelson. He's the man behind the films The Murder of Emmett Till, Jonestown, Wounded Knee, and the recently completed PBS documentary Freedom Riders. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
This is epic. You know, you can watch Ron Howard films, Apollo 13. You know the outcome. You watch it, there's life and death taking place, and you know they're going to come through in the end. You watch Freedom Riders, and just the humanity that's involved in this story. We all know the outcome, but there's so much between the beginning and the end. How did you begin to tackle this project? I know interviews are front and center, but how did it all begin for you?
Well, it began when American Experience, the show on PBS, called me and asked me if I would read the book Freedom Riders and take a look at making the film. And you know, even before I read the book, I just said yes, I wanted to do it because I thought it was a real chance to make a film about one little piece of the civil rights movement. It's kind of the difference between Eyes on the Prize, which was this huge, beautiful show on the civil rights movement, but kind of takes the civil rights movement as this one long continuous thing and gives you this whole omnibus of the civil rights movement. This was being able to kind of dissect one small piece of the civil rights movement. And I thought it was a real opportunity and really exciting to do that.
To understand American history, this is something that all Americans really need to know, and I would offer the best way to experience it and understand it would be to watch Freedom Riders. What do Americans need to take away from this experience that I believe 400 or so people physically, emotionally went through in the early 1960s?
Well, I think there's so much to take away from the Freedom Riders. You know, this was really the beginning of the civil rights movement. It was 1961. It was before so much of those other things that we know, you know, the dogs and the hoses and the Pettus Bridge and those things. This was at a time when it could have gone either way. You know, nobody knows what's going to happen. Are the Freedom Riders going to be successful or aren't they? The first group of Freedom Riders actually get turned back and have to quit. And then another group joins in, and then another group. And so all these different things happen. And I think, you know, what we learn from that is that if you really are committed to something and you really believe in it, then you take that first step out there. You don't worry about what other people think or what the government is telling you or what your parents are telling you or what other people are telling you, and you just go out there and you take that first step and you see what happens. And in this case, they were successful.
For anybody not familiar with the story, it begins in Washington, D.C. There's a group called CORE, and they are essentially looking to change the Jim Crow laws and to test those laws in the Deep South.
Yeah, and what they decided to do was get 12 people, 6 whites and 6 blacks. They take volunteers. They get 6 whites and 6 blacks who get on Greyhound buses, 6 on Greyhound, 6 on Trailways, and they're going to ride from Washington, D.C., all the way through the South, the Deep South, and end up in New Orleans. That's what they're going to do. And the whites and blacks are going to sit together on the fronts of the buses. They're going to eat together in the restaurants and the bus stations. The whites are going to use the colored-only restrooms. The African Americans are going to use the white-only restrooms. And they're just going to see what happens. They're going to go down there. There's only 2 members of the press that were with them, 2 members of the black press were with them. There was no mainstream press. They had no guards. There were no police. There were no National Guards. There were no army. It was just them on these buses, and they were going to see what happens.
Did they really think that they were going to make it through the Deep South unscathed? I mean, as you've done the research, how naive, I mean, to be bold and to do this is one thing, but then to actually experience. Did they understand what was taking place in the South?
I think they understood in some ways. I mean, CORE was basically a northern group, so they understood what was happening in some ways, but I think nobody understood the violence that was going to come. Nobody really could predict what was going to happen. I think they felt they were going to make it. I think they felt that there was going to be, some mobs shouting and,
because separate but equal is the law in place, right? So therefore I should make it through okay.
Yeah, there's going to be some stuff happening, but it's not going to be this massive violence that finally happened. And I think that there's this piece in the film where Julian Bond says, that was the one of the funny things about that kind of action, because you didn't really want violence to happen. But for it to receive the kind of publicity you wanted and for it to make change, then something had to happen for you to get attention. So I think that they thought somehow they were going to get attention, but they couldn't have predicted what was going to happen.
Who are the characters? Who are the main characters in this real life play that unfolds?
Well, I think one of the great things about this film is that there are none of the people that we expect to be heroes come across heroically. So the Kennedys, both Bobby Kennedy and John Kennedy, who was the president, they want the Freedom Rides just to stop. They're saying just stop these people. They're not making that step. They don't want the federal government to be involved, because at that point the South was voted Democratic right across the board, and because it voted Democratic, the senators and the congressmen and the governors would get reelected over and over and over again. So they had this inordinate amount of power, and so the Kennedys didn't want to buck that power. So they just wanted the Freedom Rides to stop. They didn't want to interfere. Martin Luther King is asked twice to go on the Freedom Rides. He refuses twice. And so one of the most fantastic things about the story is that it's the story of common people. It's just everyday people, both black and white, young and old, who become the Freedom Riders and who do this amazingly courageous thing to get on these buses.
And there's that leg between Atlanta and Birmingham that really changes everything. That's Mother's Day?
It's Mother's Day, yeah.
In 1961.
Mother's Day, 1961.
And there's a Greyhound bus and a Trailways bus, because there are commercial bus lines that are being used. I'm going to say the drivers, pretty brave people themselves, not knowing necessarily what they're getting themselves into. But the Greyhound bus gets stopped, and it's burned.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing the conflict between nonviolence and what nonviolent acts can trigger violence. Right? I mean, you start to see this friction take place. What happens from there on out?
Well, what's so amazing too about that story is again, there's 2 buses, one Trailways, one Greyhound. As the Greyhound bus is being set on fire with a firebomb, the people on the Trailways bus don't know anything about it. there's no cell phones, there's no way to get in contact with them, and so they're just going on into Birmingham. And Bull Connor, the chief of public safety, as he was called in Birmingham, has told the Ku Klux Klan in Birmingham that you have 15 minutes, as he says, to burn, kill, maim. I don't give a goddamn. That's a quote from him, that do whatever you want to the Freedom Riders. I'll give you 15 minutes, and no, I promise you nobody will be arrested. So there's a mob waiting there, and they've actually been passed out these metal pipes, this long pieces of piping to beat the Freedom Riders with, and the Freedom Riders get into Birmingham. They see the mob. They see the mob gathered there. And as one of the Freedom Riders recounts in the film, he says, I looked over and I said, okay, well, let's go. And they get off the bus anyway and go into the bus station, and there they take a terrible, terrible beating.
And this is the tipping point. Let's take a look.
As we entered, we were met by hoodlums who were standing around the walls.
The very first thing that I saw was a white man. And he was hollering, no, people don't do it. They are my brothers, they're your brothers. Before I let you kill them, you have to kill me first. Klansmen made the statement, well, fuck it, that ain't no problem. At that time, all hell broke loose.
I was thrown forward. I was hit on the back of the head with something.
It was a mass brawl. Stakes, bats, clubs, guns, just swinging away. Just swinging away.
James went down almost immediately. The blood started running.
A black woman run up to a city detective and hollered, they're killing my husband, for God's sakes help me. Turned and slapped her down, knocked the hell out of her.
And this flashbulb went off. I believe that flashbulb may have saved my life because they turned on the report.
They knocked one man, a white man, down at my feet, and they beat him and kicked him until his face was a bloody red pulp. The police did not arrive at the scene until 10 minutes late, when these men had, as if on signal, dispersed and had gone further down the street, where I saw some of them discussing their achievement of the day right under the windows of the police commissioner's office.
Those pictures were about as dramatic as anything I think anyone had ever seen coming out of the civil rights struggle.
So this group now has a decision to make. It's now made national headlines everywhere. The publicity, which I think is what CORE was after, maybe not to this extent, but it's now being publicized, and it's now taking on a world perspective. You mentioned JFK. He's now in a tough spot. But what happens with this group now? They're at the bus station. They've been brutally beaten. Now what?
Well, what's incredible is the next day they get out of the hospital and they decide, they vote to continue the Freedom Rides. Okay, so now they're going to continue the Freedom Rides, even though they're literally bandaged up. People have, big bandages on their heads and things. They said, we're going to keep going. And they get to the bus station in Birmingham, and no bus will take them out. They just can't get a bus that the bus drivers refuse to drive them out of Birmingham to Montgomery. And after hours and hours of that, they finally decide that they're going to quit, that they can't continue. One, they're beaten. Some of them are in shock. In the film, you can see the footage. You can see it on their faces.
They're traumatized.
Yeah, they're in shock. And they can't get a bus driver, and they decide that they're going to quit.
But they don't.
Well, they decide they're going to quit, and
right.
then they go to the airport to try to get a flight out of Birmingham, and they finally get on a plane, and they get on a plane, as they say in the film, they settle down, and then there's a bomb scare. And these are the days when we didn't have security checkpoints, so the mob is out on the runway with them, and then they have to walk off the plane through the mob on the runway back into the terminal and sit there and try to figure out how they're going to now, the buses won't get out of Birmingham, the planes can't fly, how they're going to get out. And finally Kennedy sends his representative to get them out of Birmingham.
What is happening in Washington? I mean, you had mentioned the political catch-22 that Kennedy is in here, but something has to be done. I mean, the FBI is getting involved at this point.
Yeah, something has to be done. It's become this international incident. This all takes place during the height of the Cold War, right after the Cuban Missile Incident, and Russia is weighing in and saying, you know, it has a headline in their paper, big picture of the burning bus, and it says shame. We have in the film a radio broadcast from Radio Havana, which actually broadcasts in English from Cuba to Miami, you know, to the people in the United States, and says, you know, how can Kennedy talk about the greatness of the United States when people in the United States can't even ride a bus? So it's become this huge international incident. And finally, the Kennedys, you know, they don't want to do anything. They're trying not to do anything. And finally, they say, okay, they send their representative, John Siegenthaler, down there and say, look, just get him on a plane. Get him to New Orleans, and it's over.
But it's not.
No. But it continues to go on.
It continues to go on. Again, the abuses take place in New Orleans. And now it's pretty much over at this point.
Right.
At least we think. But, you know, there's that feeling of this shouldn't go for naught. Right. And young African Americans and young whites who are sympathetic are watching this and saying, you know what, no, it doesn't end here. Right. If we're going to make change, it has to keep going. And so you see more freedom riders.
Right. Well, that's one of the most courageous, I think, single events in American history. That same night, these students in Nashville, whites and blacks, are hearing this and watching this on TV and hearing this on the radio that the Freedom Riders had to quit, and they just say no. And that morning, the next morning at 7 a.m., they get on buses and sit together on buses going from Nashville to Birmingham and continue the Freedom Rides. Now, they have no connection at all to this first group of Freedom Riders. These are all college students who just decide that they are going to continue the Freedom Rides because they can't let the violence that has occurred in the South, in Birmingham, stop the Freedom Rides, stop a nonviolent movement.
But we see a difference here because you had the first group were Northerners, predominantly Northerners, and this second wave, they have a better understanding of the mechanism and the white behaviors of the South.
Right. They had all the students from Nashville had been part of the sit-in movement in Nashville, where they had actually successfully desegregated lunch counters in Nashville. And so they had all gone to jail, and they had all been part of that, and they knew what you were up against in the South. And so they were a little bit more battle-hardened than the first group, although I don't think that they even thought that they would get the kind of violence that they too got when they got into Birmingham and Montgomery.
When you see that kind of violence, is there any way to understand it or why it happened?
Well, one of the things that I think we wanted to do in the film was to interview Southern whites and talk about that, about why, because you know I kept trying to remember that all the Freedom Riders were trying to do was sit together on the front of a bus, or use a restroom, or eat together in a restaurant. You know, that's all they were trying to do. And so, what could make people so violent and resort to violence about something like that? What could make you throw a bomb onto a bus because a white person and a black person were sitting together in a seat on a bus? And so we in the film we interviewed a number of white Southerners who talk about what the mindset was back then. And one of the most interesting things that somebody says is that it was felt that you couldn't capitulate at all. You know, there was a line that was drawn, and that was the line. And there was you could not give an inch on segregation and Jim Crow. And because if you gave an inch, that would open the floodgates, and then there would be this massive, I don't know what.
From watching it, you get the sense that because it was almost like a piling on effect, where so many people from from the North and West are saying, you're wrong. There's this resistance saying, you don't tell us what to do. you know, you're wrong. It's that odd mentality. It makes no sense, but it's that nobody's going to tell me what to do kind of mentality.
Yeah, well, I think one of the important things about the freedom rides, and then it became important in the entire civil rights movement, is that, you know, in the South, you know, there was not a large number of people who were out and out, you know, Ku Klux Klan, hood-wearing racists, you know, what, 10, 15% at most, you know, but there was 85% of the population, 90% of the population who just went along and didn't have to understand, didn't have to know what racism was and what it did to black people. What the freedom rides did and the rest of the civil rights movement did was make those white people have to make a choice. You know, what side are you on? I mean, how do you condone the fact that here are these people, and the freedom riders would purposefully, you know, dress in suits and ties, and the women would wear little white gloves and dresses. Here they are in suits and ties and dresses, looking beautiful, you know, nonviolent on a bus, just riding on a bus. And then you have this crazy mob screaming and yelling and throwing a firebomb onto the bus. And then when they get off the bus, you know, to escape the flames and the smoke, then you beat them as they get off the bus. Okay, so you're sitting back watching the news at night. What side are you on? Which side do you condone? Which is right? And it made people have to really understand what racism and what segregation was about in the South. And I think that was really an important and part of the genius of the freedom rides.
You're so hands-on researching this. How did it change you?
You know, I think for me, it's strange. I mean, making the film was exciting and wonderful, but for me, the greatest thing has been being able to travel with the film and show it to audiences, and also to be up on stage with the Freedom Riders. You know, to stand there on stage with Diane Nash or Jim Zwerg or Bernard Lafayette, the Freedom Riders who you see in the film, you know, who haven't been celebrated. You know, they're not famous people, and to see them get a standing ovation, and then to have them then to have Diane Nash tell me, thank you. You know, I mean, that's been the biggest thing for me, because as I always say, you know, there's no way I would be, you know, up on stage. There's no way I'd be sitting here with you as an African-American director if it wasn't for people like them who put their lives on the line. When I was growing up, it didn't exist.
In interviewing the Freedom Riders themselves, what did you take away from them?
I took, you know, the courage that they had in doing this, but also, you know, the love that they had for each other, and the fact that it was something special and it was in its way fun. It's like they have this bond that, you know, like if you've ever been on a sports team that does well, you you hold that for the rest of your life. You know, they have this bond, and they did it with love for each other, and that, you know, building a movement and taking this kind of action, it's you know, fun isn't the right word, but it's rewarding in a way that most of us don't experience in our lives, and they have that, and I wanted to try to get some of that across in the film so that young people will understand that, you know, that step of bravery has its own rewards in their lives.
What should young people take away from this movement? I mean, you know, generations come and go. I mean, you know, you go, World War II is, you know, how many decades ago at this point? You know, you lose track of time. What should young people, both black and white, take away from this period, and in particular the Freedom Rides?
I think one of the problems is that so many times we've forgotten, you know, about what our country was like back then, and how the change has been good, but also the fact that it was changed by these normal, common, everyday people, and that change does happen, and that we can make change. I mean, the Freedom Rides were 12 people, started with 12 people just getting on a bus and saying, this is the right thing to do, let's do it, both black and whites. And it ended up changing America. At the end of the film, the signs in the buses and the bus stations and the bathrooms all come down. No longer did it say, you know, whites only, colored only. And it had said that for, you know, 100 years. But these 12 people started out, were joined by more, and this changed America.
Are they still active today, different causes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the other thing that the Freedom Riders did, and any kind of movement like that does, is it makes you feel what the success, you know, that you can have success, and then and that breeds more wanting to be involved, because you know that it can work. And so the Freedom Riders, you know, by and large, have stayed involved in actions. Some, like Bernard Lafayette, who's still traveling all over the world teaching nonviolence. Some in their own communities.
Has it led you down other paths? For you personally, are you investigating another potential documentary?
Well, it's funny because I'm now just started to work on a film on the Black Panther Party, which is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of the Freedom Riders in some ways, but it also it isn't in another way. You know, it's people who in their own way were very idealistic and felt that they could change the country, and stepped out there to make change. So we're just starting that film.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Nelson Stanley, filmmaker, Freedom Riders, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.